Andy Linloff, and also Steve Gomez will be assisting us. Want to make sure that my sound is coming through. Can a few more people give me the heads up? Okay, perfect. Mike, I know Mike has a T3 connection directly to us, so he gets everything. Prime. That's what you get when you're really connected. Okay. Fantastic. So one of the excuse me, one of the other things that I want to attempt to do, and we have never done this before without Scott, who's not feeling well right now, is to do our own poll. So I'm going to launch a poll, and hopefully everyone should be able to see it. And the poll is, are you a subscriber of Trade Ideas or not? And the reason we ask this is, again, although today it is really, the studio is a general all-purpose kind of a webinar. We're going to be talking about how the technology relates to what's happening today, but I just don't want to completely go on the assumption that everyone knows exactly what we're talking about. So I want to make sure I do at least enough of an introduction, and obviously we, of course, will also be answering questions. Myself, Steve in the question and answer panel. Typically the way we do it, and Andy, you tell me if you guys have been doing the same way in the studio, is I kind of do half hour where we immerse, then we kind of give everybody a small break, discuss the offer that we're doing for the webinar, and then come back with a Q&A. But if that sounds good, we'll just keep doing it exactly the same way.
Okay, yeah, that we've been doing it a little bit different, but it might be nice to mix things up a little bit, Dan.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So, okay, everyone, looks like it's 60-40, so we have a lot of visitors today, too. That's going to help myself, Steve, Andy, everybody here make sure that the message is conveyed. Okay, let me close that. Thank you very much. And let's move right along into the presentation. So the first thing we'd like to do is make sure that everyone understands that this webinar is for informational and educational purposes only. No information that's provided by Trade Ideas or any of our staff is a solicitation for you to buy or sell any securities. If you need that information, you should consult with a licensed professional. Okay, Andy, can you recite that if you have to?
You know what? Back in my days at Trade Ideas, yeah, I could probably roll that off my tongue pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, everyone, thank you, first of all, for taking your time and coming to this webinar. It's going to be a very exciting webinar. We have never seen, and Andy and I, we go back to 1998. That's how long we've known each other, how long we've worked with each other, and again, not that many people, Andy, are still in the game that have been doing it as long as we have, for various reasons. But we're at the culmination of everything that we've ever dreamed about. Number one, I believe that we're, Andy, about to experience another golden era or golden age of individual investors, because people like the ones that are at this webinar and the growth of our subscribers tells us that people aren't just satisfied giving their money not only to advisors, but also the whole robo-advisement trend, although is interesting, it is still very, what do you call it, hands-off. And people are actually interested in being a little bit more hands-on about seeing, like, well, what's possible? And that's what we're going to be talking about. That's one of the things that we do in the Trader Studio is we're going to be talking about the possibility. What should you be doing? How can you take advantage of this information, make money off of it, and really explain, hopefully, that this is as good as it gets. One of the reasons is that our technology allows us to give you guys something for free that very few people are able to do. And Andy, you know, as we evolved the firm, you know, we didn't have this. I think our trading room is maybe a year and a half old, you know, and it's evolved since we launched it initially. But to me, it's so important to have the live feedback, like the crowdsourcing of your own ideas. I mean, we give you so much already, but the learning process, there's twofold. You have to watch a good example from, and we give that to you with our premium artificial intelligence, but the other is the feedback from the group. Like we have its own meritocracy. People know who the good investors are because they can see the information in real time. There's no faking it. And Barry is a fantastic moderator who has that kind of gift of gab where he communicates exactly what's happening, the emotions behind it. And I think we just have one of the best environments that fosters growth. So this community, it's free, and it's because we have a technology company, and that's what allows us to do this for free and really help people take advantage of everything. All right.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything you said there, Dan.
Andy,
I'm sorry, we're talking over each other. No, I just wanted to agree what you're kind of leading into there. It's not back when we first started using this product over 13 years ago. You know, it's just a basic alert, and you were kind of on your own on an island. Yeah, we shared some ideas, you know, but now it's evolving in such a community with social media and people able to share their price alerts and their alerts in the cloud. It's just it's really becoming just an entity, you know, basically in such a vibrant community.
It's both. It's technology and the people behind the technology, which is why we always tell everybody, even though the tech is amazing, it's still hands-on. You want to interact with it, and we're going to, again, talk about how getting the most out of it. But the thing that we want to really showcase, okay, I mean, and this is just a very high-level example. For the people that are visitors that don't know, you know, Trade Ideas, we stream ideas for people to look at and decide if they want to invest in them. And we have several ways that we do that, but one of them is just simple alert windows. You can see the timestamps. And here I'm just putting my, you know, sometimes, Andy, it's like, it's nice to kind of zoom so that everyone can see, like you can imagine, 1018 KURA came out at $5.12, and it was up already 37.6%. Then at 10:55, OPTT came out at $4.63, and then at 11:30, that stock was at $5.24. The percent movements that you see here are really, for the most part, unheard of in terms of capturing alpha. And the reason that they're unheard of is because the industry, you know, the big boys, the HFT firms, the Goldman Sachs, they're just not designed to look at it. You know, these companies have small floats. And Andy, you know what I love about explaining this to active investors is float is a concept that should be easily understood because it's really physics. You know, imagine float is a cup of water. And, you know, your cup is, well, how big is it? Is it a quart? Is it a gallon? Is it 10 gallons? Is it a ship, a tanker worth? Smaller float stocks, like where you see here, OPTT has a float of 1.76 million shares. Smaller float stocks will tend to move more if all of a sudden demand for them increases. Like in here you see relative volume of 42 times. In other words, it's 420 times the normal amount of volume that's going through it. And because there's only 1.7 million shares traded, it's already traded 3% of the float. So like this is like as the move was starting, so you can kind of imagine that because the float's small, if the demand is big, the price is going to go. We watch for this. We help you see this. Not only are we watching it, but our artificial intelligence is watching it as well. So you get kind of the best of both worlds, but look at the percents that are possible. And when Andy and I, when we jump on the software, we're really going to highlight the fact that you must be paying attention to this versus just the Apple, Facebook, Netflix, Google, Baba, and all the other stocks that everyone else is trading. Because, again, unusual percentage gainers typically don't take place where everyone is watching. It's kind of just a rule of thumb. So let me see what the next slide is.
Something, can
Okay,
I add something to that, Dan?
absolutely, absolutely.
And yeah, he's going back to the Cisco's and Microsoft's and Facebook's and things like that. Where do you think the high frequency traders are? I mean, they're not going to be in these low floaters. They can't take on that much risk. They like to kick pennies around with size. So not only are you you're getting crazy alpha in these stocks, but you're avoiding the majority, if not all, of the high-frequency traders out there. You're going to find some algos kicking it around, but the high freaks, they're not going to be playing stocks with 1.76 in the float million. It's
And
just,
by the way, guys, that's another example of evolution. You know, Andy, we kind of talked about this. A saber-toothed tiger is an incredible predator, but it died out because the prey that it fed on went extinct. So, like, you got a 2-for-1. The high-frequency trading cannot be here because they actually, when Andy says they're trading for pennies, they're in reality, Andy, they're trading for sub-pennies. They don't want any risk. They want zero. They're just going for latency arbitrage is what it's called. And latency arbitrage is an incredibly played out game, and it does not get played here. So here, this is real supply and demand, and you must have our type of technology if you want to take advantage of it. So the thing that I also want to say is, there was a great article, Andy, that I think I posted somewhere on Twitter, but it was talking about Steve Cohen, who's the guy that used to run SAC, but now he runs basically a renamed version of SAC, hired this performance coach. And this is a guy that, by the way, happened to, of course, work with some of the best golfers in the world, too. And what Steve Cohen was talking about was his experience after the performance coach. And he said the most important thing that he saw for any investor is an open mind. If you started getting consumed by industry-created memes like, oh, this has an RSI of 80, I can't get into it. Or, oh, look at this stock, it's only trading at $5, I can't get into it. Or, oh my God, this stock has only traded 200,000 shares, I can't possibly get into it. All of these things are just means designed to hold you back so that you can give your money to other people. We are fostering an open mind. Open your mind to what's really happening, and you can see an amazing stock market. A renaissance is taking place, and it's never, ever really, Andy, been as good as it is now because there's never really been technology like trade ideas.
totally agree.
Now we're going to kind of jump into a little bit of what we're going to present, just the tech. And for those that, let me move some of these windows real quick just to make it a little bit easier to see. There's been some modifications. We're constantly adding features to our technology. One of the things that we do all the time is we upgrade various channels. So here on the left-hand side, and by the way, Andy and everyone else, everyone can see my mouse moving around and hopefully see my screen.
Yes.
Right? Okay, fantastic. So we're on the AI channel, but the typical work routine of any and I want to kind of lead by example. The typical work routine, how do people work with our technology? Well, we've made it so you don't have to do tinkering, you can just use it, like Netflix. So let's start before the market opens. Typically, people go to the pre-market channel. It's already designed for you with the proper cast of characters. Here, you see stocks that are gapping up for whatever reason, and stocks that are gapping down for whatever reason. You can see as the pre-market movers are taking place, and of course, what we also do, Andy, is kind of every channel steers people to the proper utilization of our tech, so that you can do a couple of things real quick. Like I see something like DKS, right? And I'm like, oh, it's Dick's Sporting Goods, but I can quickly come over here and just see like some high-level highlights without really doing, okay, now cash, revenue, short quotes, 10%. Like, I can make my assessments very, very quickly. And that's, bottom line, that's always the advantage in active investing. For those, again, that are guests, the stock market is one of the few places that you can take a look at a situation like a stock starts to move up or down. buy it, and if you are for some reason wrong, you can get out of it and lose very small amounts of money. Typically, it's, commission and the difference between what you paid and where it is right now. And of course, you can also make money, which is something, again, if you compare it to real estate and everything else, I mean, you have to understand that there's just no difference. So DKS, Dick's Sporting Goods. Notice at the top, there are two views that we steer investors to. Here's DKS Sporting Goods on the daily chart. So this is what it's looked like since the beginning of the year. It's come up, it's come down, and it's kind of found a range, and now it's starting to move up and has made highs. Dick's Sporting Goods is going very, very well, and it's kind of erasing a downward, looking to erase a downward trend, Andy, that started, my goodness, in March 2015. And it's had a heck of a turnaround off of the bottoms. So that's the longer term picture. And again, you can use our technology to have the charts. You can zoom in and out. Here I'm just pressing the control key and scrolling my mouse. So this is the daily chart. So that's what happened with Dick's today. And this is the 5-minute chart. Okay, so each one of these is 5 minutes. And the idea of why you would do it this way is that basically this gives you that very quick insight. Right here, again, I can just see it. I'm like, okay, this is heading down, still down. Okay, I'm ignoring. Here, again, quick evaluation, moving very strongly and continuing to move very strongly. So this allows me to just easily make some references, and then I'm going to show you how we really take it to the next level. But this is just the high level, pre-market open. This is what we do. So,
hey, can I add something to this, Dan?
Yeah, I also want to make sure that anything on the sound, because Tony here is saying that my sound was not coming in through, but it seems like it's coming in fine.
No, it seems okay to me.
Yeah, Andy, go ahead, shoot.
Yes, I just wanted to say this pre-market window here is just, it brings so much to the table. So it's giving you the up gappers and the down gappers. So more than likely, there's news on this stock. And then on top of that, the single, stock window. I mean, how many times have you guys had briefing.com up? You go to that, and now you want to find out the details on the stock. So what do you have to go over to Yahoo Finance? I mean, this right here tells me so much. It tells me there's news on certain stocks. I don't have to go to Yahoo Finance. It's just right there for me if I want to go see the short float, earnings per share, all the fundamental information I want to see on it. It's just an array of information, just all in this pre-market activity. And a lot of times, I don't even need to know what the news is, because my job as a trader is just to react to price action. So a lot of times I'll look, stock's gapping way up. I know there's news in it, but I don't even want to know what the news is, because if I look, I'm going to get preconceived notion of what the stock should be doing. So
that's a great.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I said I agree 100%. The why is one of the more costly memes that it's out there. People, for some reason, want to know the reason why, but my goodness, we don't even know why the universe exists or anything else. You have to just kind of understand what's happening, and you have an advantage to take advantage. So the why can be found out afterwards. And by the way, a lot of times, and you'll see this happen, the market will react one way. You can take advantage of that reaction and then come to find out the why was completely different. So it's really not so much about the why, but about how to best take advantage of what is happening right now. Exactly. So David had asked, how do we get the single stock window? Well, one thing you can do in any trade ideas window is you can right click and you can say send to, and here's single stock window. So that will appear. You see, you can do that in any window, but in this particular pre-market channel that's already ready, it's all in here. See, everything is labeled. So a single stock window has an S, multi-strategy window where it's combining several of our windows has an M, and top lists have T, and the charts have the chart icon up at the top. Okay? Anything can be accessed from the toolbar. and all of these options. Not only that, but Steve, maybe, so Steve Gomez, again, who's manning the chat, maybe Steve, if you can put in the links to our YouTube channel where we have so many getting started videos. It's just a great way to look at things and instantly get that kind of feedback. So really quickly, I'm just going over the fact that we've got this channel bar. This is before the market even starts. Afterwards, let's assuming you don't have any of the premium functionality, you can jump right to social media. To me, Andy, this is a really nice way to start, because here you're really kind of seeing what's the market kind of, where the momentum could be hiding. Okay, sure. And I think the reason is simple. It's that unusual social activity. Like, again, in this case, a stock like TGC. Okay, today it had such large volatility that the amount of speaking that was happening, because probably it had no social mentions before at all, and all of a sudden everybody started talking about it, probably because they saw it on Trade Ideas. And so you have this kind of relativity at 67,000 times the normal. So when you see these, you're seeing stocks that usually are not discussed all of a sudden really start being discussed. So I love being able to come here and, again, make quick inferences if something catches my attention. Okay? Right over here, Groupon. You know, it's been doing this really interesting basing pattern, right? And this is one of these stocks that, look, there was a lot of volatility. You know, it started to go and then had a really big pullback all the way back down to almost 3, but it's now starting a nice move. So Andy, here, and again, for all the guests, one of our premium features that we added recently that I think just takes everything to the next level is our ability to let you see something, and if you like it, mark it up. So this is kind of what we call the Holly Trinity. And I know Steve's mentioned that before, but it's basically a methodology, an approach. You see something, catches your attention, mark it up. You say, this looks like it is starting to run. So this simple note is being made, and now, again, I can actually grab, sorry, I need to change the properties, get rid of the crosshairs. Okay, now I can actually also grab it and change it. So I can say, how about right here? Because what I'm basically saying to myself as I'm noticing it is saying, you know what? If it gets above this level, then it's going to start to challenge this whole thing. And there's a lot of price percentage movement between 374 and possibly going all the way up to 470. That's how simple it is to do. Notice I'm not doing any kind of formula, nothing. I'm just sitting there looking, noticing, and making a little bit of a notation.
While you're on Groupon, could you go back to Groupon for me, Dan?
Sure.
It's funny that you brought up that one and when you started talking about price alerts, because you know, Steve and I have been talking about gap fills lately. Well, about 2 months ago, I put a price alert down in Groupon at $3, and you can see that gap. It came perfectly down there.
Oh yeah.
Boom. Just filled it to a T, and now you got a nice little bounce, guys. That's the you talk about positioning yourself well, you know, in a stock. Obviously, if it breaks down further, you get out. But man, you buy that thing on that pullback on the gap fill, and now you're 57 cents in the money, and you got a great price. But
well, one of the things, Andy, that you're kind of pointing out is that what Andy and I were discussing something, but as we were preparing for the webinar, and we were talking about the price advantage of letting things come to you versus the typical human discretionary way of buying things is kind of like watching for with the Momo and hoping that you're not chasing, hoping that you're early. But again, that statistically speaking, there's no guarantee that momentum is specifically the best thing that's working right now. So we kind of take this approach of, again, not that we're against momentum, because in this case, this is a momentum move, but what Andy's talking about when he was right here, okay, that's a coming to him. And look, and like he said, it's got that perfectly, like, I'm going to get it right at that gap. You can then just give it a little bit of room. And the potential, it's, you know, it's playing against the mean reversion potentials.
Exactly.
Okay? And again, having it easy right there to be notified. So once again, GBSN. So this stock was all over the place, and it has big volatility. And all you have to do now is say to yourself, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to mark it up. And everybody just watch. Right click. I don't know, and I don't care. Because you shouldn't. You know, you don't know why someone's uncle's brother figured something out in here and it's moving, but I want to be first when it starts to go again. It tried, and if I'm wrong, who cares? I'll risk the 20 cents. The risk reward is just so easy. Okay? But again, one of the other things that's interesting is that in this particular case, and you're on the social media channel, is that you're watching things that are discussed quantitatively a lot. So if you look at the stock puts average activity, Andy, here, you're seeing, look how much on average, like for example, Apple on average is discussed 755 times a day. So today's activity was 127%, so it was just a little bit over the average. Here, DRAM is on average discussed 59 times. Today was a little bit less. Here's one, TSRO. On average, it's talked about 53 times. It was almost not mentioned at all. So the kind of insight that you're able to get from our data is just a different level of insight that you are getting from other platforms, because we blend it all together. And notice, and Andy, I just, for me, before I jump into like the super artificial intelligence, I just like to show the simplicity of and the power of the regular standard trade ideas, which is what we're doing now, is all of these things are sortable. You know, we have so much power here, and I can immediately say, okay, well, show me the things that are being talked about the most and are also just at the top of their trading ranges that might have the most momentum to go. You know, you can right away quickly find the thing that is visually the thing that is appealing to you. And notice here, Groupon and Apple were right in there. And they're not all expensive. You know, you look at the mix, you know, and look at the names. You know, this isn't all penny stocks. So I always say the beauty of trade ideas is we're the ultimate pattern recognition engine, and we help you see it, mark it, and never miss it. That's really the bottom line, is that you're never going to miss something when you're utilizing this technology. So here, we're on the social media channel. There's so many channels to choose from. Okay. One of my favorites is the active trading channel, and the two view modes that to me, Andy, again, you know, we always talk about the fact that in some instances I feel like trade ideas is almost like Adobe Photoshop. You know, it's used by studios, professionals who make like Disney level cartoons. There's so much power here, and you have to only just explore it, not in a, you know, there's nothing for you to set up. You just select the channel and look at the biggest pullbacks on winners and biggest bounces on losers. So Andy, that's the thing that, again, you and I are talking about. How do you find things where it's not necessarily you're chasing momentum, but you're seeing something good coming back to you? Like here, we're using a data point that is a custom data point to trade ideas, which is how much has something changed over the last 30 minutes, and we're looking at everything that's up the most overall today, but down the most over the last 30 minutes. So that's a dual sort. So on the one hand, you've got all the winners, but you're seeing them in terms of the kind of the biggest pullback. So right away, you can see that OPTT, you know, had that big pullback. But the idea is that if the momentum's still there, this is the time where maybe you would come in and try to buy it. Everything will look similar. The pullback. See, you're finding the stocks that are pulling back but they're super strong. So there are so many different places for you to find on trade ideas, find the same information, the things that you need to focus on. The most interesting movers are going to be given to you in various forms. But the most powerful way to take advantage of what we do is the artificial intelligence. And I'm going to talk about kind of like two components of it. So here I've got a couple of windows that we have designed that are really specifically looking for stocks that have the potential to do this. Okay? So if you look at, and here, let me send this to a single stock window. Everybody here, every single person here, if you are interested in investing in the stock market, you want to be taking advantage of what I'm about to be showing. Okay, look at this type of movement from $4 to $4.89 on a total of 423,000 shares, of which your 500 or 300 or even 1,000 could have been easily. Okay, you want to be here. You must be here if you want to hope to have any chance of having a competitive advantage. Okay? So let me move right along here. That was DRWI. Okay, so as Andy and I were discussing before we started the presentation, the culmination of everything that we've done in Trade Ideas is to create a technology component, which is what you see here, our AI, that it trades better than any human out there on the planet. We believe we have that. Okay, the reason we believe we have that is, number one, we're watching it do it in real time, and it's amazing. Like today, if anyone, and Andy, I don't even think that, like, it's not that you and I need to confirm anything, but I just want to explain to people. So the market was up today, right? And somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience in the market, they could say, oh, wow, everybody made money, right?
Right.
Wrong. Okay, so if you see these purple lines, this is after hours. So the market closed here, but it opened here. Or actually, it was, okay, let me rephrase that. It was gapping up and trading in after hours in this range and opened here and closed here for the first candle. So this was the open, gapped up quite a bit, sold off, traded up, sold off, sold off, sold off. So really it looked like it was about to fill the gap, right? And then, nope, and then traded up and then pulled back. Andy, wouldn't you say that in general, that's probably one of the more tougher kind of trading environments, from certainly looks-wise from my experience? I would say that's 100%.
It doesn't get any tougher than that. You know, just yeah, gap up and really a tight range and pretty much closing right in the middle of the range.
Right. So in order to do well, you'd have to have been doing something better than what everyone else is doing. So that's what we're here to talk about. What does that mean? So our AI, which is, again, looking and learning how to trade this kind of market, and then one of the things that Andy and I were discussing that we're probably the most excited about is that everyone should start to notice, and has noticed and has commented on the fact that it's gotten better, and it's gotten better kind of aggressively. The
Yes.
AI is learning, and it's getting better at managing these markets, and the things that it picks are just working better. Like, so for, just to make sure everyone understands, so today it had 3 trades and all of them were successful, 100%. And it told you that the proper methodology was risk off the whole day. That was what was basically paying off. I mean, there was a little bit of risk on, like maybe towards the morning, but afterwards it was really risk off. And the beauty is that everybody who saw these trades live, they know that they could have paid, you actually could have gotten more out of these because the spike was up almost 60 cents at one point, and Ren was just insanely fantastic. I mean, this is where we had bought this stock at, like, as it came to us, and then approximately an hour later or 45 minutes later, it was close to 780. So this is what we're doing, and all of this that you see here. So today, only 3 trades, all of them followable, all of them coming to you in real time, and price ranges that really gave something for everyone, from the more volume, slower stock to the, smaller volume, or you could trade the 100, the 200 shares, to, again, maybe something in the middle. This is as good as you're going to find anywhere on planet Earth for capturing potential alpha in the markets today. Everything that you're seeing here in terms of what's being studied are patterns like this. So these things are being fed into the AI right now. So as you and I are talking about all this information, the software is looking through all of these data points, looking at the various trades that happened that were very successful today, and is trying to find the common ground in them and seeing if there's anything that's statistically viable that we should take advantage of. But now, again, since this is the Trader Studio, kind of like for tomorrow, what I want to do is I want to prepare everybody for what we need to be ready for tomorrow if things start to go. So, Andy, I really thought DRWI, Dragon Wave, the way it moved and the kind of volume, I mean, you have to you want it to pull back a little bit, and I'm going to kind of do what's called a bracket here. I'm going to right click, I'm going to create an alert, and just so everyone knows, every one of these alerts that I'm setting, we share them with clients who have premium access, so you get full access to this. Guests, just jot this down, okay? So, pulling back to nice level. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, hey, it would be nice if this pulled back right here. I might step in because, again, if the market's not getting annihilated, this could be a good level of support. Just kind of visually, you can see, notice right here, a lot of inflection. And it's pretty basic, right?
Sure.
So then you go right up here, okay, and you create another one and call it, like, again, well, what if it doesn't come back? And you say, in full breakout mode. Okay? So what you're seeing here is the beauty of the Trade Ideas approach to, again, working with the stock market. We don't try to force understanding of indicators and valuation. We explain that valuations are all subjective. What that means is a valuation of anything, a stock, company, however you do it, it's only valued relative to your risk at the time. So, for example, DRWI has no relative risk to me until I'm an investor. And if I bought it, for example, right here at 258, well, I'd still be in a good situation. I rode it all the way to 10. Maybe it'll stabilize and head back there. In fact, Andy, that's kind of the play at the supply and demand high level, right?
Absolutely.
Something huge was happening here. It got digested, but it could be back on the table, or whatever it was. Again, it could be ready to test that level. I want to really just show that in terms of this other one. Okay, this is one that I've really played so well, but I would say this one was almost like the starter of some of these moves. MGT, and you look, it ran from 55 cents, okay, to all the way to $5.60, came back and continued higher, pulled back, and in essence is, I would say almost at another level of at a buy point right here.
Hmm.
So again, make a note, MGT is at a relatively good spot, like at a good supply and demand inflection point from an educational point of view.
Sure.
Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is, people's concept of being in the stock market is really, unfortunately, a lot of people just don't know what that means.
Mhm.
They
Can
talk
I add
about,
something here,
sure.
Dan? What Dan's showing you, I mean, not only does Trade Ideas give you, I mean, just incredible ideas in real time, it's a great homework product for scanning. I know a lot of you guys out there like to do your homework and read up and see what's happening out there in the news, but I tell you, doing homework on a technical basis versus a fundamental basis, what I've learned throughout my 18 years of trading is much more valuable than doing it on a fundamental basis. Fundamentals lie. You read things in earnings reports and from CEOs. A lot of those times they're lies. So I like to do my homework, run scans, see which stocks were up. Like Dan was just showing you on OPT, whatever it was. But and then using your price alerts, using what Trade Ideas provide, the tools and the picks and shovels that it gives you to do your homework on a technical aspect versus reading up on the fundamentals. It has incredible power when you're doing research as well and doing your homework.
Andy, if I can add, the scientific, I think you kind of explained in terms of CEO lying, but let's not. What if we didn't even have to say that? Let's assume all CEOs are honest, just at the high level. You
Sure.
kind of hope that some of the reporting, there's some sort of auditing standard. Let's assume for a second that everything you see is truth. Even then, what you have to understand is because the nature of the data, like fundamental data, only changes quarterly.
Right.
So because the nature of the data not changing, it's already digested.
Exactly.
Now, people are kind of positioning themselves for, the earnings reports and stuff like that. But the nature of fundamental data and how that data is digested is just completely different from the nature of general relativity and what is considered good or bad valuations. There's no such thing as a good or bad valuation. It's only relative to you. And that's why people say, well, what about GoPro? Well, you could have bought GoPro at 50 and sold it at 65, which would have made it a very good buy at 50.
Right.
That's what I mean by relativity. People have been taught this thing about buying and holding, but the markets evolved past that because lifespans of companies change. Also, things in the S&P are always moved in and out. And people don't always realize, they're like, oh, what if I just mimic the S&P? Well, there's a lot of crap going on in the S&P mimicking. Microsoft comes in, something else comes out, and the whole notion of long-term performance, as it relates to having access to big data and being able to see what's going on in the market for real, we're just all starting to open our eyes because technology like Trade Ideas, and again, the ability to study all the prints and the behavior of the prints. We are not in the prediction business. And Andy, I think that's one of the things that people often misunderstand about the technology and what they see. See, Holly, this AI that gave you 100% on a day like today, there's no predicting that it does, okay? Prediction is stupid, and nobody can predict. I mean, for anything you can predict right, you will be wrong the next time. The best that you can do is be like a profiler in Criminal Minds, and I've said this on many of my webinars, where what our AI does is study statistically good behavior, models it, and waits for something to come to it. It didn't know AGX was going to set up to do this kind of move, but when it happened, we were ready and reacted to it because everything was right. Everything kind of came into its place.
Sure.
Yeah. So again, let me go real quick I'm going to pause here, Andy, bring up our presentation, and kind of just take a little quick break to introduce everybody to what we do for a living, so to speak. Trade Ideas is a software subscription business, and we own the most exciting data feed on the planet for individual investors. Andy, I've never been more excited, and again, I know that everyone that's seeing what's going on and participating with us, my goodness, it's like there is a renaissance happening. You know, it's what we sort of got to have a taste of in the mid-90s when we were so lucky to be where we were at the time that we were at, but it's happening now, and now it's based on science. And RAI will always be where the best trades are because it's a numbers game. Whatever is working statistically, whether it's going short, whether it's going long, whether it's buying gold or buying biotechs, wherever there's a pattern that can be exploited by a human, we're going to be there. So we have two modes that we use in subscribing. There's the standard monthly, where you can pay $99 per month or $888 a year. Or there's the full premium mode that lets you save the alerts, share them, have access to the AI, and that is the mode that is used by most people. And that is $188 a month or $1,888 a year. But Andy, I kind of like to give people an example. For the premiums, if you break that down, $1888, and do that for 365, what you get is $5.77 per day. That's how much it costs to get access to the world's most powerful artificial intelligence engine that's available to traders and investors. Again, it's exciting that it's even possible. So that's why I'm super pumped. I want to make sure everybody understands that, you know, we've been doing this since 2003. And we have never, ever, ever, ever thought that this is where it was going to be. So very excited about that. Steve, let me, Steve, who's again been helping us with the Q&A, I believe we have two handouts. So there is an open house, and I will totally answer questions. We'll do the whole question and answer as soon as I get done with this part. So, Steve, did you hand out the open house invitation to everyone? Let's make sure.
It's in the chat window, Dan. Yep.
Let me see that. Hold on 1 second. Aha. Okay, perfect. So, in the chat window, but everyone should see it. So we have an open house that's coming up. It's very exciting. July 18th. Through July 22nd for $7.99. You get full access, AI, everything, the whole kit and caboodle. So it's a great way to get acquainted with the software. We do this from time to time because, again, the technology is revolutionary. Just click on that link in the chat room, and that will take you to our open house. And again, in terms of the subscription service, there's also a 50% off on checkout today, and use the promo code Trading Studio. So make sure everyone sees that. This promo code will get you 15% off, but it's only available today. Okay. Let me now go and explain. We'll go through a bunch of questions. Let me see here. Steve's been answering a lot of them. Let me see where we can go here. Okay, so let's see. So Cal asked, what's Holly's lifetime success? It's actually an interesting question. She's basically 3 times since launching. So it's kind of like a question that is not easy for us to answer linearly because it's really almost like having 3 separate AIs. The initial AI was up about 53% of the time in real life mode. And that was from January, February, March, right to April. Then the AI was kind of 50-50 for about 2 months, April, May, and now it's at 64%. So that's how good it's been. And again, if you look at it today and yesterday and the day before, we've even said it. It's kind of like an insane mode. You know, it's so rare to be able to have we're not used to it. So when we see it, I'm like, wow. Even I haven't seen something this good. So okay, let me. So Rick, the trial, that's the open house. Okay, so let me explain risk on and risk off. Okay, so risk on and risk off are two modes that we have for the AI. So let me explain what risk off mode is. So our AI knows to get you into a stock. It also tracks a very conservative stop loss, all custom made for that specific trade. And there's also a timer on the trade, and it knows, okay, you know, I'm going to get out at a certain time, but it also knows that, hey, if I'm up a certain amount, I want to make sure I can retain some of these profits. So all of these rules that are created are called, you know, smart exit rules, are part of this mode called risk off mode. In other words, if we don't want to risk too much, we just want to take money off the table. So risk off mode is kind of, again, the conservative mode of Holly. And people say, well, how do you know which one to use? Well, the answer is this. During the day, one mode will start moving higher or lower versus the other mode, and we're in the process of actually having that being automated. But the mode that you work on, like you can be in a position where you're up a bunch in risk on mode, like maybe, again, $2, and all of a sudden it goes to $1.50, and you're still up 61 cents in risk off mode, but you're like, okay, wow, my risk on has really dropped. Maybe this is where I take a little bit of profit. So the idea is that you have the ability to follow very like account retention, profit retention rules, or you can let things ride. And the difference is this. It's really, there's no right or wrong way. You just have to understand risk on means you're going to take on more risk, and risk off means you're going to be more concerned about money management and taking in profits. And you can see where the difference was. But yesterday, I think risk on was, Steve, do you even remember? It was pretty high.
2 days
like
ago.
17, like 12 points?
2 days ago, risk on.
Yeah, 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 12 points. So that's what you can expect. And the idea is that, again, it's just guiding posts. This is meant for you to see, like, okay, maybe here you take a little bit off the table, or understand that the AI is giving you a hint. One of the other things that people do is, and this is something that we talk about, is how they trade around this. Like, for example, can just consider, and I'm going to use this because there's, you know, Andy, because there's so few trades, it's really nice to kind of be able to show. So here, the AI got into AGX at the entry price of 46.16, okay? And the last price was 46.14, so it closed very close to it. So I'm going to say if it goes back up to 46, like let's say 20, the AI trade trigger hit again. So now I'm making a little mnemonic because I saw this one and it was actually kind of nice because look at where the AI got out of it. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, you know, maybe it'll keep going again. Okay, the next one, REN. Same thing. Here we were looking for a pullback, perfectly traded. Again, it was much higher, got out with an 11-cent winner. The stock pulled back, but I'm going to say that I still like it exactly at these levels. So if it can kind of clear out of here, let's see, we enter this 720, I'd get into it again right at the same price. I'll say 725. Looks like it could run. Again, for people that aren't Trade Idea subscribers, write these levels down. This is what you're here for. This is what it's about. Okay, this all looks like it's setting up in a way that it could go. Here again, big pullback, right? All the way from 741. So we'll just go right back here and say the same thing.
I love those calls, by Holly. I mean, what's the chances you're going to be looking at Spark right there on that when she first called it out on that big pullback there where the blue arrow is? But if you look across on the daily, and you can see what she sees, just that's invaluable stuff right there to me. Because some of my favorite alerts by her are the pullback ones, because I just know through experience I'm not going to have that on my radar. But you know what, Holly in a lot of cases is going to point it out to me.
Well, that's the thing. When you're watching the entire market, and it gives our subscribers a huge advantage. I mean, one of the big things that's different between trade ideas and almost every other kind of scanning mechanism is, since we're watching everything and we're statistically looking for where the statistical advantage is, we talk about this all the time. It's really the MIT card counting approach to investing and trying to beat the markets. Because again, you can't just buy and hold. I mean, that's a bet on Western civilization. I think it'll work, but there's going to be a lot of ups and downs in between there.
Right.
But here, I mean, we're showing you what is possible. I mean, look, here's an example, Andy. People say don't try to buy bottoms, but look at this area right here. If you could have bought, and we've had people in this stock. I mean, it's one that we've been aware of since this. But look at the move from 18 to 34.
Yes.
I mean, in a 3-month time frame. I mean, look at the alpha. And everybody's talking about 5% and 2%. I mean, this is the modern day explorers. The Renaissance investors are here. This is where the opportunities are, and we are bringing them to you, streaming them to you in real time. There's nothing else like it. There's no place else where you can have an MIT card counter with you investing for you. I mean, look at the move even again, and it's not just based on only, again, penny stocks. Look at the move that Twitter made basing off of the bottom. Once, again, it digested the terrible earnings, had another bad earnings, but look at the move from here, from 14. I mean, that thing is that's not a low floater.
No.
That's telling you that there's the market seems like it's about to get ready to really go. And I don't mean go down. I mean, it'll probably pull back maybe a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe 2. But the play looks still incredibly bullish, and nothing is going to give you the kind of advantage that we're going to give you. So we are just hoping that you take advantage of what we're showing you. Whoops, wrong open house link. My bad. Right here. Take advantage of the open house. Again, for only $7.99. But if you understand what the kind of power that we bring, there's no reason not to subscribe already. And again, you can get 15% off on this checkout for what we offer, the 2 types of service, the standard service and the premium service. In addition, our support is probably the most important part of what we do. And Tony, yes, I'll answer that. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that here you can reach Jamie, you can reach Steve. We have a Facebook page, like us on Facebook, and of course, our phone number and emails are all available. We're very easy to find, including the free trading room that everybody here should be in if they're interested in investing. So what I think it's a great place to finish on explaining to Tony what's the AI based on. Great question. So let me show you guys just a couple of things real quick. Okay, so every day in the market can be described between an open, a close, a high, and a low. Every single stock has this information throughout the day. And what we do is we divide the stock into thirds. We have the top area, the middle area, and the bottom area. And the idea that we said is that, well, there's an exploitation that takes place in every one of these areas. Like, for example, sometimes the stock hits this low price level and then it starts to bounce and goes all the way to the top. If it's at the top, sometimes it hits the top and then goes all the way down to the bottom. Sometimes it hits this top and then breaks out. Sometimes it hits it and then pulls all the way back. So we asked the computer programmatically, show us all the times that these things are happening, and what's the best way that we can take advantage of them? In other words, what Trade Ideas has is we have our own custom data. So of course we have the data that's taken in by us from the exchanges. But what really differentiates us from everybody else is as we take in that data, we create new derived data from it. Okay, and that derived data gives us a large amount of data points to plot every single movement, like the social volume, the various moving average rate increases, coupled with some fundamentals. Again, we are able to see it in ways like the matrix. And so these 45 exploitive algorithms are constantly looking at what is and isn't working, and they compete amongst themselves in what we call the quantitative combine. So today, for example, based on yesterday's data, there were 3 long and 2 short algorithms that made the cut. And what I mean by made the cut is through statistical analysis, through Monte Carlo and out-of-sample data, these strategies had the kind of historical feedback that made us comfortable that they could possibly do something similar based on their behavior going forward. The results were, of course, even superior, although out of all these strategies, only one happened to have triggered. See, this is the stuff that makes this the AI. We, number one, don't know how many strategies will be ready, although Holly's working and creating them tomorrow, and out of the ones that are ready, we don't know what will fire. So even if Microsoft and IBM and Merrill Lynch got together with Facebook and asked Google for help, they actually could not recreate our AI. It's a one of a kind. It's like the Coke formula. There's only one that exists. This is the most exciting time to be in the market because the opportunities that we're seeing, the kind of companies that are trying to get into the curing the cancer business, and your ability to digest this information quickly and make very fast inferences from it. It has never been better. And we're bringing it to you live. Come to our room, come to our open house. If you're in the market, you're going to want to have Trade Ideas. There's just, again, there's nothing else like it. I want to thank everybody for taking their time. This webinar will be recorded. Are there any other questions before we leave? Amy, thank you very much. I'll make sure Jamie knows that I'm the best.
Oh.
What would Jamie do without me, Andy?
I'm not sure, man. He'd probably start.
Yeah. Jamie's sweet. Amy, he's helping his mom right now. He's such a sweet guy. So all good, guys. Thank you very much. Visit us, everybody here. Tell your friends. We're doing this one customer at a time. So I'm very excited. Thank you. Thank you.